Spikes. Mud. Crashing. Metal. Speed. More crashing. Jumping. Energy drinks. Even more crashing. It's Monster Energy Supercross. Or by this point, I'm fully aware of what to expect when going into a motorsport game such as this. I usually expect a difficult challenge while I get to grips with the realistic gameplay, which eventually ends up in a satisfying experience once you've mastered it. Sadly, this is not the case for Monster Energy Supercross 4, as the unwelcoming controls, mixed with unrealistic physics, makes this a game that could possibly be mastered if you really wanted to, but I'm not sure why you would. The game opens by asking you to create a character. Well, actually, it's more a case of picking between a selection of pre-made models which look like they were developed for a PS3 game and then giving your new Clayface a name. This wasn't too much of a concern though, as my rider would of course thankfully be wearing a helmet most of the time, and when all suited and booted, the character models actually look pretty cool. In fact, that goes for most of the game's visuals. I was lucky enough to play the PS5 version of Supercross 4, and although it's far from the best looking game I've played on a next gen system, it still looks pretty good, and is a noticeable improvement over the last entry. The game also makes fantastic use of the DualSense controller. You can feel every violent vibration shake through your fingers as you speed down a straight and rumble on the trigger as you accelerate from the start line. If you're planning on buying Supercross 4 regardless of what I'm about to go on and say, and you're in a position to pick it up on PS5, then I strongly recommend you do. Sadly, this is about the point where my positivity ends, and despite how good the DualSense features feel and how decent it looks, the gameplay is a frustrating experience which feels like it would alienate all newcomers to the series. As I touched on in the opening, I fully expect most motorsport games I play to be difficult, and I've played and reviewed enough of them in my time to know you need to give them a fair bit of time. In this case though, it's been nearly a week of trying to get the hang of the controls, and I still feel as annoyed and angry as I did the first time I booted the game up. This pretty much comes down to Supercross 4, much like the previous entries in the series, not really knowing what it wants to be. When taking a corner, it's super realistic, and if you don't slow down and handle the bike correctly, you're gonna crash. At the same time, however, you'll go flying through the air in dramatic fashion, which is more akin to an unrealistic arcade game whenever you even slightly accelerate up a ramp. It results in a confusing mashup of a game that wants to be both a strict sports simulator and a fun adrenaline-filled thrill ride, yet fails at both. I really think a proper easy mode would have helped the situation a lot. Yes, the game has an option for very easy, but that didn't stop me from wiping out in every event and coming last in every race while being lapped in the process. It felt overly brutal and unfair. In fact, at one point, I even tried the game's hardest difficulty setting, and to tell the truth, it felt nearly identical to the easiest. I really think a proper easy setting that assists you more would encourage more players to try get better and stick with the franchise. But as it stands, it's just an unwelcoming mess that puts me off ever going back or even trying the next game in the series, to be honest. When talking game modes, there's all the usual suspects, including career, events, track editor, and online. The career is where I spent most of my time with Supercross 4, as is usually the case with most sports games, and although it's not too bad, it's hardly reinventing the wheel. You'll take place in race weekends and have the opportunity to complete 3 training challenges in between those events. What's cool is you only get one chance at these training sessions, so if you fail, it really feels like you messed up and makes the next one feel extra important. Progression through the career is a bit of a weird one though. In my first set of race weekends, I came dead last in every race and was overlapped in most of them, yet big teams and sponsors still came calling, and I was introduced to the world like a superstar. Maybe they really liked the comical way I'd constantly fall off my bike, who knows. Either way, it felt as if results didn't matter at first. As time goes on, I actually needed to finish in podium positions to advance, but given that I'm essentially driving on ice, that was never going to happen. Speaking of which, my rider would always pick up injuries every time I'd crash, and the game requires you to spend in-game currency to heal. This was disappointing, because the hard as balls gameplay meant I was forever injured, and never really had enough money to buy cool helmets and other gear. It ended up being a big cycle of disappointment rather than an epic career. Events and championships give you the opportunity to compete in a competition with real life riders, who all weirdly look the same, rather than having to use your custom made potato. I did hope for a split second that using a real life pro would help my on-track shortcomings, but alas, it just resulted in me ending the promising career of a proper Supercross athlete. Sorry mate. Online mode wasn't available for me at the time of making this review, so if you'd like to know more on that side of things, then hit us up in the comments below and we'll let you know how it works once the game is released and there's more players online. Track Editor is a really cool returning mode that lets you, well, you guessed it, edit your own track. It's a weirdly satisfying experience, and I'd be lying if I didn't admit that the most fun I had in this game was putting together my own wacky racetrack and messing around on it afterwards. It gave me some proper Tony Hawk's vibes, and I'm all here for that. You can also upload your custom track and download others, which is a really cool touch. Overall, I feel there's a really fun game in here somewhere if I was just allowed to access it. Sadly, it feels hidden behind a ridiculously steep difficulty barrier and some laughable physics that makes the game a weird mishmash of arcadey jumps and overly hard handling. I truly believe if the very easy setting was actually, easy, then I would have had a lot more fun with it. Unfortunately, I was left rage quitting in almost every session as my competitors lapped me again and again, time after time. Longtime fans of the series will probably still find a lot to love, especially if they have the chance to play the PS5 version with all its fun, exciting DualSense features. Everyone else though, will probably feel punished for being a newcomer, myself included. I give Monster Energy Supercross 4 5.5 out of 10. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure to go back and check out some of our other stuff, and like and subscribe while you're at it, it'll help us out a lot. And for all the latest news and reviews, make sure to check out our website respawning.co.uk, and to keep up with everything we're doing, make sure to follow us over on Twitter and all the other socials by just searching Respawning UK and you will find us there. Once again, thank you for watching, I've been Mikey, and I will catch you next time.